Where are you from originally? Where'd you grow up?
Yeah, so I grew up in Poland. I'm from like fairly small town in Poland, and then I lived in a few major cities because like I went to the university in Wrocław, then I moved to Krakow, and this is where I spent like 8 years of my life. Amazing city, by the way. Like highly recommending for anybody to visit. Mm, and we like me and my wife we had this like kind of like one attempt of like maybe trying to move abroad to like we are always like had this interest like to see how it is to live somewhere else, you know, like not only as a tourist but also like to go somewhere and kind of live there. And we kind of were preparing to move to France for a few months, but then we kind of got scared of like all the complexity of that, of like my work, her work, and we abandoned this idea. And then we thought, okay, that's over, right? Like we will stay forever in Poland because now we have a kid. And like you will never move with a kid; it's too complicated. And then somehow, because my wife, she's a scientist. She works with like with cancer research, things like that, like super serious stuff, like way too complicated for me. And she got this like opportunity to go it was some kind of like a scholarship or something like this where you can, after your PhD, you can go for half a year whenever you want. Like you get like the scholarship is providing the money for you, so you just need to find a place that will take you. So of course it's quite easy to find a place if you are coming with your own money. And then we started like researching where do we want to go, right? And funny enough, we never thought about Vienna, about Austria. Like people from Poland, they usually think about the USA, UK, right? It's a very big Germany because it's so big and close. But we find out that Vienna like has been winning those like the most livable city rankings like so many times. And we were like, huh, why not? It's actually like it's not far away. It looks beautiful. And yeah, and in 2019 we decided to move like to that this is the destination. And in 2020 we were supposed to move, and well, we moved, but as you can imagine, 2020 was maybe not the best year to make such a change.
That's a hard year.
It was pretty rough because everything was, you know, because we knew way in advance, like we basically knew a year in advance that we were moving. We had plenty of time to prepare everything. We started like selling all the books, all the heavy stuff, so we don't have to move with all the like furnitures and things like that. And preparing, like looking for the kindergarten, looking for job for me. Mm, and then in 2020, when we were like already like prepared, everything stopped. Like borders were closed. There was like a hiring freeze in the company that I was like supposed to work for, and even the scholarship was frozen at this time because like nobody knew what to do, and like every institution, every country was like trying to deal with that on their own. But we managed to move. We managed to move in like July 2020, and there was a lot of downsides of moving in that year. But one of the pros of moving at that time was that we experienced Vienna without tourists, which was like at the time we kind of knew that this is special. But now when I see how many tourists visit Vienna every year, I really appreciate that we could like go to any of those touristic places, especially after like all the lockdowns. Everything was kind of like getting back to normal, but but yeah, but tourists were not there yet, you know. So that was pretty special.
Had you guys visited Austria at all before you moved?
Only once. We had kind of our second honeymoon in Tuscany, in Italy, and we went by car. We always like to visit like multiple places and see how people live in different places. So we stopped at Vienna on the way to Italy and also like on the way back to Poland. But that was our only experience. So we didn't know anything. Well, my wife was here for like once or twice because of the scholarship. So like she went here to talk with the people, but we had no idea like where we are moving to really.
Wow. And you were also prepared to move there long term because you said the scholarship was only for 6 months, right?
Yeah, and we were like thinking for quite some time like how to do it, right? Because like you cannot really like move your whole life for like, because when there's one person it's easy, okay, you can move, you can go back, whatever, right? But when you have a partner, you have a kid, it's getting a little bit tricky. So we thought like, do we want to like do 6 months? But if we are doing 6 months, it's like it's not enough to like to change the job and like resign from the apartment and everything. So we decided that okay, we are kind of assuming that we'll stay at least for like 1 year, maybe 2 years, and then we'll decide, right? And and we fall in love. So there was like no coming back, really.
Mhm. But like if you didn't like it, it's still quite a commitment because you're selling all of your stuff back in Poland, right? You said, so like, what if at the end of the 6 months you said, "Oh, we don't want to stay here"? Would you have gone back to Poland and just started over, got a different apartment, or?
Yeah, we would probably go back. In like selling, like it sounds so dramatic, but like in fact we didn't have that many things. Like
Okay.
we were never like very. Nowadays it's different because like when you have a kid you buy so many things, like it really changes you. So but back then we had some books, we had some like furnitures, but nothing major, nothing really important. And also we of course like left some stuff with our parents in Poland, so that was also like a good storage option.
Hmm. How old was your kid when you guys moved?
That's actually very interesting because she was kind of in a perfect age, because my daughter was 3 years old when we moved, and that was a lucky coincidence, coincidence, because she was already big. So that was exactly at the end of like nursery and at the beginning of kindergarten. So when we were moving, she could like just start kindergarten with everybody else, and she already spoke Polish a bit, but she was also like small enough to learn new languages also quite quickly. So I would say this is kind of like a really good age to move with a kid.
Yeah, it's not too dramatic. I think when you're that young, you can adapt to new environments much easier than you can when you're, 12 or something, right?
Or 36. I have to say, I have to tell, it's like I don't know. I was so naive because like we are like, we are like we consider ourselves quite smart. Maybe everybody does, but like we think okay, we are like quite educated, we are quite smart. We'll manage, we will move, and for sure we will learn the language, right? It's not so easy, like I thought that it will be quite easy because we are here and we can talk to people, but in fact, like I didn't account like how harder it is to learn new things when you are like at this age. It's really hard. I sometimes feel that my brain doesn't have like that much space for like new stuff anymore.
It's tricky though. Any language is hard to learn, and like being in a country, if you move abroad, you have the opportunity to learn that language because it's all around you. You can practice with people, but the process, the actual like nitty gritty of learning grammar and vocabulary is the same no matter where you live. You always have to do the work, right? And so I don't think it's just you. I think everyone has trouble learning languages. It's a difficult thing.
Well, and German is not making it any easier. It's a difficult language, and yeah, and there's this trap. I think many people who move abroad fall for this trap. Is that okay? At the beginning, obviously, you cannot speak the language, like in most cases, and also for quite some time, you know only basics. So if you are able to speak with someone in English or whatever, like in a different language, you might prefer to, especially if you're like making friends. And then it's kind of hard to switch back.
Yeah.
So at this point, after almost 5 years, of course, like we have Austrian friends as well. Like we have a lot of like expat friends, but we have Austrian friends as well. But it would feel weird to now like kind of degrade our conversation to this like basic German when we are already so close and we talk about like more complex stuff on daily basis.
So does that mean that like a lot of people speak English in Austria?
I think that was also a big surprise. I found somewhere that Vienna is the top city the top non-native English. Well, sorry. The best place for like in terms of like people speaking English for non-English speaking cities, right? So of
Yeah.
course, like we are not counting like London and things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
There is it's almost too easy. It's almost too easy, especially if you live mm, in those kind of like nicer districts, if you will, right? Like where like people are like mostly educated. There's like really no problem, and of course like the whole city center is like very touristy, so again not a problem. So only in, again, I guess government offices this is sometimes an issue.
Okay.
And also because Austria is super old school, like they really love um their kind of like old ways. When you need to call to do almost anything. Like if you want like a doctor appointment, you have to call. Like there's a lot of calling. Like if you want to complain about something, you have to call. So then the people who works on this like picking up those phones, they don't always speak English, or they don't always want to speak English, which is yet another topic. But yeah, like you can be quite successful, looking at us, with like very basic German, and yeah, and live in Vienna, definitely.